The simple thing of perspective that if someone is standing here closer to us compared to someone that is farther away, it looks smaller, but it's the same. Hello, beautiful people. Second year. This is week 12. And as you see, I'm doing this from my place. The reason is that I did record my talk in a class, but later when I wanted to do the video with help of my friend Moh, I didn't like my talk, and I have to give lectures to several groups. The other talks were better, but the one that I recorded I didn't like, and that's why I decided to do this talk at home and send it to you. But before getting to the topic that I want to talk about, I just want to remind you that this is week 12. On week 14, I think around April 14, 15, I'm going to get 10 drawings from you, and I'm going to mark you based on those drawings and also your work during this semester, the same way they have done it, that I have done it always, all the time. I mean, the same way as before, nothing new. But yeah, that's the first point. The second point is, what was the topic of the week 12? I was talking about perspective in figure drawing. You know that perspective was discovered or rediscovered, I don't know exactly, during the Renaissance time, 500 years ago. But the thing is that people were drawing before the discovery of perspective rules, and they were drawing pretty well. Just think of the cave drawings 20,000 years ago, I don't know, thousand years before, and the drawings are very good, and you get a good sense of perspective also in those drawings, but they're not aware of the perspective rules and they're not using them, and what they do, they're eyeballing. They draw what they see and they draw what they feel, and they don't care about any calculation that you have to do in perspective. Then eyeballing has been the key for from the first day we start drawing, and I think still is the key of drawing. And for example, in animation, if you want to do layout or when you're dealing with man-made environment, perspective is a must. In layout, in storyboarding, even in animation, you have to have a good sense of perspective and where things are. But when it comes to posing, let's say when you want to draw the character, this is the eyeballing that is the necessary thing, and life drawing also is all based on eyeballing. And the reason that you take so many life drawings in animation, in an animation program like our program is that you have to be good at eyeballing and draftsmanship, and of course you have to have a good idea of perspective, but eyeballing is the key. Just to give you an example, for example, let's say let's analyze a drawing, a figure drawing. For example, my drawing here, if this is of course eyeballing, and when I was doing that, I was not thinking of perspective at all. But now when you look at it, if you want to put this in perspective and use the perspective rules, what should we do? And if I want to use perspective and perspective rules while drawing this. First of all, you cannot deal with organic shape in perspective. You have to translate them into box shapes. Perspective drawing is kind of scientific, mathematical drawing. Is everything needs to be translated into box shapes or square or right angular shape, and then calculate where these boxes are and if they're in the right position and right relationship, and figure it out how to draw them. For example, in this one, I have to translate the rib cage, for example, in a box shape, and hip another box shape, and then I have to find out where the horizon is, where the vanishing points of these boxes are going to go. For example, in this case, I'm guessing that my horizon, my eye level, is almost midway through the body. The reason I say this is my eye level, because in the setting of life drawing, when you sit and the model is on the platform, you almost your eye level is almost midway through the body. Then I have to calculate that these boxes, for example, these two boxes, they're not level. Then their vanishing points are not going to go to my horizon, to my eye level. For example, the box of the hip is, the direction is going down, then the vanishing point is going to be somewhere down below the eye level or horizon. And this one's, the box is going, direction is going up, and the vanishing points are going to be on the top of my horizon. These are in 2 points perspective, one vanishing point there, one vanishing point there for the box of the chest, and one vanishing point this, and one vanishing over there for the box of pelvis or hip. And even when you do calculate, let's say in perspective, those boxes, still not enough. There are a lot of, I mean, the chest is not just a geometrical box. We make it or translate it as a geometrical box to simplify it and to understand and draw it better. But finally, you have to go to all these muscles and organic shapes on top of that. And even if you calculate all these boxes, still you have a lot to do with eyeballing on top of those boxes. And box is not enough to draw a complicated figure like this in perspective drawing. I'm trying to tell you that how difficult and complicated it is if you want to use perspective all the time, and almost impossible to calculate all this, and maybe a computer can do it, but our brain does it not by calculating by mathematical rules, but we eyeballing. We develop a sense for uh, for where the things are. We learn anatomy. We know how the bones and muscles work and how their relationships are, and we eyeball everything, and eyeballing is crucial for us to draw the figure and draw the animation characters and animation drawing, and perspective is not used in this case. But if you are dealing with a man-made environment, if you're dealing with building, streets, and all those kind of things, uh, perspective is crucial. Why? Because we are sensitive towards certain lines in reality, and if they are off, we immediately notice them. These lines are the one that is horizontal lines and vertical lines because of the gravity, because of the fact that we live on Earth. We are sensitive towards those lines, and then when you're dealing with a man-made environment, when you're, for example, you're drawing stairs, you're drawing water, you're drawing things that are level they're parallel to Earth. We are extremely sensitive towards those, and you have to use perspective rules. And in those cases, it's easy to use perspective rules because you are dealing with actually box shapes and geometrical shapes when it comes to man-made environment. Water, because it's level, getting the right lines for water is little bit more difficult, but you have to have a good sense for perspective in order to get all the level area. Is there any level area in life drawing? Yes, there is. For example, the platform that the model is standing on it, the part of the body that is in touch with the platform, for example, in standing pose, if this, I had drawn the whole figure, the lines of the feet that is attached to the platform, because platform is level, and everything on these lines on platform going to my vanishing point because it's level and going to my horizon, then getting the lines that is attached to to the ground and touching the ground those lines are very important lines. We are very sensitive towards those. If you don't get those lines that are attached to the platform or to the ground, your figure, the balance is going to be off. You don't feel that the balance is right. You don't feel that your figure is standing in a solid and correct way. Or if it's in a laying down pose, you see that if your lines are not correct, you see your figure is hovering, is not sitting there, and you have to be very careful about those lines that are attached to the ground or the platform that you draw. But even then, my point is not that you have to calculate and use perspective rules to figure out those lines, but you have to be very sensitive about them. You have to have a good sense of perspective and how things go into perspective in order to get those lines correctly. How do you develop this good sense of perspective? I think it comes with experience, and it comes with correct knowledge of perspective. And what is correct knowledge about perspective? I don't have time here to go to the whole lecture about perspective, but I want to emphasize that when you think of perspective, don't think of the grid or don't think of even vanishing point. You have to know that perspective is about uh, uh, geometrical geometrical understanding of what is happening outside and how to see things. And the most important thing is your eye level. Where your eye level is, okay, all the uh, parallel lines that are level with the ground, level with earth, they go to these line that we call it horizon line. But this is your eye level. The most important thing is your eye level in perspective. And then, for example, when you do figure drawing, you have to have a good sense for where I'm standing and how I'm seeing things and how for example, the platform that model is standing on it goes to perspective, and how the lines that are created by touching the platform by model where should be. Again, even this aspect of perspective in life drawing, you only can learn it through lots of practicing and through learning how to eyeball it, developing this sense for drawing. We always use this phrase, oh, he or she can draw, or he should, or he or she cannot draw. When we say that, basically we mean he or she can do the right eyeballing or cannot do that. Uh, Perspective drawing is important, you can learn it, but ultimately this is the eyeballing that is decisive, and that's why we are spending so much time on figure drawing. One last point that is not much related to your life drawing, but is related to mostly is related to layout or storyboarding. When you do that, is that I've seen a lot of students when they want to start thinking of man-made environment, and this is when I say layout or storyboarding, I mean when you're dealing with man-made environment, they usually start with the grid. I I suggest don't do that. Even when you want to design a layout or thinking of a scene and lay out a scene, don't think of the perspective or grid or vanishing point or horizontal horizon. Don't start with that. Start with eyeballing. I mean, start with whatever you want to draw. Just start eyeballing it and sort of map it out, or do your thumbnail or your gesture of the area that you want to draw. And when you're happy with your eyeballing and you think you've got the feeling or the thing that you have in your head or your imagination, when you've got that, then after your eyeballing is done, you try to think of perspective, and this time try to understand in this eyeballing that you have done where you're standing, where is your eye level, and get the horizon line. And how do you understand that? You can go for lines that usually are leveled with the ground and try to guess, okay, I'm standing at this height or at this height or at this angle that I'm seeing this. And then try to guess the best horizon for your drawing, and then you start put your eyeballing in perspective. I mean, good eyeballing usually is easy to put in perspective, but sometimes your eyeballing might not be very accurate, and when you put it in perspective, you have to change your first original eyeballing and correct it. Again, this comes with experience, but my point is that eyeballing is the must. Eyeballing is the one that we have to really pay attention to, but nevertheless, perspective is important. Any eyeballing drawing, even the caveman drawing, has a sense of perspective, and that sense should be correct, and you have to be careful about it. And in figure drawing as well, any uh, drawing from the figure has a sense of perspective. Even this one, that you don't see the ground, you don't see the lines, that we are very sensitive about when the body is touching the ground. The way that the figure is located in space gives you a sense of perspective, and you can say the sense of perspective here is correct, because you feel the weight, you feel the gravity in this drawing. Then perspective is present here as well, but the uh, the main approach in drawing, for figure drawing or animation in general, is the eyeballing, and developing this sense of eyeballing, that we call it life drawing, and we have been working on this for 2 years, and starting with the gesture, and then how to get the 2D aspect of the figure, the 3D aspect, and the cross contour. Everything we have talked about in this course during these 2 years are elements of how to learn this eyeballing. This was a summary of what I have talked about in my class, and as you see, it's not a very easy, simple topic to present. I hope what I said here makes sense, and I hope when I look at it again and making a video of it, I'm happy with. That's it, and now I'm gonna show you some demonstration that I did in class, and hope you're happy with this. Don't forget your homework. Those who are at home, 4 hours of figure drawing plus the 30 minutes drawing from your imagination, and see you next time.